Good evening, dear friends, and welcome to tonight's Truth Foragers here on the Boys and the Baltic Star channel. Once more, myself and my good friend Rick would like to thank the boys from the Baltic Star for lending us their channel for the evening. We have been in talks with Rick's old GeoCities provider about getting back on, but Rick, no luck so far.
No, it seems like the market for GeoCities has faltered a little bit, and it's a shame because I think if I'm not mistaken, it still pops up as one of the number one researches searches on Alta Vista. So it does make me wonder why there isn't more interest in it. To be honest.
I thought your investment in the AOL 10 free hours discs would serve you well, but so far I see you've just been selling them as tea coasters.
Yes, yeah, and they do have a value because of the use of them to keep your tea off your coffee table, but also because if strung together and hung outside the door, they can be a powerful tool for driving away solicitors.
Second only to vampires in the least wanted beings within the house, of course.
It's true. Yes. Yeah, they are well they are so dangerous that you will in fact see people with signs up saying no solicitors on their doors.
And you don't see any with no vampires.
No, that's true. That's true. But I mean, vampires like Jehovah's Witnesses can't take your soul unless you invite them in.
Very true. Wise words already. You get that one for free, dear viewers. So yes, we're here this evening. We have an interesting myth for you, as we always do. Myself and Rick have spent years and years, Rick many more years, I'm sure you can tell, um, traveling the world in search of incredible truths, uncertainties, whispers, rumors, researching them for months on end, and we're bringing them to you, dear foragers, to share our knowledge and to see how you feel about such things, whether you believe or you remain skeptical. Something that you can vote on after each myth that we do. Um, we have one myth this evening with a special friend who we'll introduce when the time is right. And then we will have a special return guest. And Rick, this is something you've been very excited about. You haven't shut up about it all week.
It's true. Um, I'm one who is known for expressing myself verbally at length, and not only in front of magistrates, but I also have been very excited about this. I mean, I've been excited about discussing this local legend as well. But to be fair, I think this week I've been particularly thrilled that we are going to have our very special guest join us, who's been on before, and who I think is a very a very popular favourite among our listener.
Exactly. And we're inviting her on because she does have a new book, a full size book. Um, Rick, do you have any new releases this week?
I've been having quite a slow week this week because one of my local hostelries was running a beer festival, and for the whole week that means my productivity has well slipped, shall we say, in one category while dramatically improving in another.
Well, I did walk past your local hostelry the other night and I could see that something of yours had definitely slipped.
Mm, yes, I I I I do enjoy the locally produced ales and other produce. I mean, I I particularly enjoyed the other day sampling a new piece of farm produce, a new cheese that has a very nutty flavour derived from the fact that it's made from the milk of squirrels.
I had heard about that. I was concerned about trying it, but with your positive review, I might be looking into that.
I think it's excellent. Or to be honest, it was in the middle of the beer festival. I can't really remember it in that much detail, but I seem to remember it was good.
Speaking of good, Dear friends, we are pleased to have such a good selection of viewers this evening. Rick, I believe, has a list of everyone's details scrolling up, everyone that logs in. The
Mhm.
details automatically come to him via pager. He is at the cutting edge of technology, of course. And Rick, is there any interesting information you have about any of those viewing today, just so that we can make people feel comfortable with the fact that we know them well?
Um, I would that I could, but of course, if I were to reveal it on the stream, other people might overhear, or person, to be fair. But you know what I mean. So the other thing is that though the information does come to me, the nature of modern technology means that I often get it through my teletype even before it comes on the pager. But the teletype is rattling away in another room because microphones, you understand.
Of course, very wise approach to take, of course. Um, but yes, dear viewers, thank you for joining us this evening. You will have received the software downloaded directly to your computers or phones or anything that you're using to watch this evening. It will be taking your information as needed and bringing it to our central supply for security reasons to ensure that we only have those that are true of spirit and desire to get to the true information this evening. Anyone who is here under false pretenses will be flagged up. Rick, I believe you'll hear an alarm if someone does enter under false pretenses.
Yes, yes, I have repurposed a pilot's stick shaker and attached it to my right knee. So when the alarm goes off, I get a bit of a tremble.
Fantastic. It's not the only time we get a bit of a tremble, Rick.
It's true, yes, and as it turns out, a stick shaker is useful for so many things around the house.
So many things. Just I tend to wash it before I use your stick shaker.
I think that's only wise.
Well, for those of you that joined us last week, you would know that the two of us were discussing together. Um, this week, things are slightly different. We're joined by two different guests. Now, of course, the power of conversation in myths and legends. Um, I believe it's written in one of your pamphlets, Rick, about the power of three. That there should never be more than three. Isn't that so?
And in some cases fewer.
Mm,
Hmm.
exactly. And so we're going to start this evening by introducing a very good friend of mine. I would say he's at least an accepted acquaintance of yours by now, Rick.
Yes, I think that's more than fair to say, and very exciting to have him back. I am always curious to find out where he's calling in from as well.
Exactly. Yes, he can be anywhere by the very nature. He's a travelling man. Here's our good friend Rico Zim. Let's just dial it through. Uh, good evening, Rico. Rico, can you hear me?
Hello. So yeah, yes, I can. Dickie, Rick, hello. How are you both?
Good evening. Well, thank you.
Good, good.
How have your travels found you? Of course, we never like to give away your exact location. You are a man who likes to stay on the move. Any interesting travels this week?
Well, it's been a bit of a week of it. Yeah, you could put it that way. I'm currently in. I suppose I can get reasonably precise as to where I am without giving too much away. Currently in Ratton Row. Not sure if you're familiar. If you've ever made it to this neck of the woods.
I think that may be too far north for me.
I,
No.
uh, I myself have only been there in my dreams.
Uh,
I've been chasing through on some real in-depth, really juicy leads, Rico. Something that perhaps you'll be able to bring in the coming weeks, maybe.
I would hope so. Certainly in the coming weeks, everything seems to be falling into place just as I'd expected. Of course, um, I won't bore viewers with it now, but we've spoken about this particular case many a time, and with someone with extensive knowledge in underwater welding, you know exactly where this is going, I think.
Oh, very much so, and it'd be a pleasure to discuss it in more depth without being extremely drunk on port, as it always has been the case in the past.
Well, it's the apt drink, especially when you're speaking about underwater such situations.
Speaking of which, are you fully through the shipment of port that you found discarded in the back of a lorry last year?
I'm currently about 40% of the way through. So I'm just checking my my inventory, the inventory of my camper van. As you know, I like to keep up to date records just in case anything goes awry or is taken by nefarious agents. But yes, yeah, I'm currently about 40% of the way through, and I think I've decided that actually it's gin.
Whatever it was, I was very excited to find out that you had attached it to the sink's tap. You'd replaced the water and were surviving basically on the alcohol itself.
Well, it serves the double purpose. Obviously, you're not stuck with drinking tap water, which I'm sure we all have our own opinions of, and they're factually accurate. But also, it cleans out the pipes quite well.
Both
I've heard that about
Especially
gin. Yes.
the Vans and
especially when
yours.
the tax disc that we from the lorry that we found it on finished somewhere back in the 70s.
Indeed, it's amazing no one had seen that lorry before, to be honest.
A truth to be foraged in and of itself, you might say.
Yes.
Maybe one day.
Well, you're definitely the person to investigate it when the time comes.
So, Rico, we've called you on this evening, partly because you're the person who's most available of everyone we know, and partly because you have enjoyed conversation with us about this next topic on several occasions, and indeed have spent some time looking into it yourself, I believe.
Yes, certainly. I certainly have. I'd also like to point out that, of course, I jumped at the chance to be the warm-up act for your next guest, who I'm very excited to listen into once we've finished.
Wow.
Oh, it's very kind of you to say, and we are really quite excited as well. This should be a fascinating tale.
Certainly.
Well, let's not beat around the bush any longer. This tale comes from English sporting history from around about the 1960s was the first hearing of it. Um, and Rick, you were the first man to find out more about the case of the unwanted mascot.
Yes, yes, and I think this was one of those stories that when I first heard it was from a blogger on the internet. Obviously, I don't review such things myself, but I do have colleagues in the trade, so to speak, who print out the internet for me onto sheets of paper, and I can peruse them at my leisure in the manner that is most efficient for me. And it turns out that this story, when I first encountered it, came from somebody in Taiwan, of all places. For those who don't know, because I only discovered this recently, Taiwan is in fact a country, and it's far away in the Far East, and it has, among other things, a tradition of creating large numbers of mascots for everything, and I do mean everything, every chain of shops, every town or village, every new development, every festival, every cultural event, government departments, you name it, all of them seem to have a mascot associated with them. I don't know if you've encountered this phenomenon yourself.
Isn't it true that Rick, you found out that a dazzlingly high percentage of mascots do indeed come from this one company in Taiwan.
Yes, apparently. Not only the production of whatever accoutrements are necessary for the suit and the actual physical presence, but also the design of them, which may explain why they all look, well, shall we say, of comparable quality to each other.
I would I would say so. Rika, you showed interest in it because you indeed spent 3 years as a mascot for a team, did you not?
I did, yes. So
Rico. I know you spent a
Well,
year.
no.
You
To be
spent a
fair,
year, Rick, but Rico spent longer.
yes, but to be fair, that particular costume was harder to operate after Rick left after the first year. It must be said. Um, but yeah, of course, I'm well established within the mascots community in this country. Not so much well thought of now, obviously. After we won't go into details, but yes, and it was interesting. It was an interesting perspective from inside the costume, which was in fact made in Taiwan. And in fact, even when they ordered replacements, when they eventually decided to change away from the twins costume that Rick and myself wore for that faithful year, and I wore for 6 months afterwards until the budget got finalised to change the mascot completely and have a full on rebranding. Even when the costume was replaced, it came from the exact same location, the exact same factory, as far as my research went at the time. An interesting micro view of the arrangements. It's certainly one that led me to many more questions, and of course, Dickie being the expert on needlework. When I showed you the photos from inside the mascot's costume, you had some very interesting thoughts.
I did once. I'd managed to look past the stains that looked like they were at least 6 months old by that point. Um, Beyond the stains around the gusset area, especially, I noticed that the stitching was very similar to other stitching that I'd seen in other costumes up close in fetes and local sporting events. Um, and that was when, as a non mascot, how do you describe yourself, Rick? Mascoteers,
Mascite.
mascots. That's it. As a non mascot like myself, um, it was fascinating to me that there was such a close link between so many mascots. And Rick, I came to you that night when I found out with that thought in my head, which was, what happens if they make too many mascots? What happens to them? And that's where you and Rico, as mascots, really took the lead and expanded your search further.
Well, this, as it turns out, is one of those things that always struck me as an obvious problem, because clearly there can, once you've created a mascot, only be one mascot costume and one mascot at any given time, because obviously it would be bizarre if two identical looking, or in many cases very similar looking, after all, quality control is not great in these places, mascots were to simultaneously emerge. It's, a challenge, but these costumes do need replacing from time to time. And when that happens, obviously there is the traditional decommissioning ceremony, the one involving a large glass of some suitable alcoholic beverage and a blowtorch. In most cases, they pick correctly the old outfit and replace it with the new one. But I have heard some horror stories of the ceremony being conducted on the new one, and the old one being dragged out once again. It is problematic. But yes, these mascots, as you say, they need replacing in line, and occasionally replacing the actual design of the mascot itself. Some commercial entities rebrand themselves quite regularly. Um, and in some instances, they want to choose a different color scheme or a different whatever. Um, it doesn't matter that much with football clubs, where typically their mascots last for well months. But in some cases, they have very short shelf lives. Mascots they may only exist for a very brief period for a specific event or a festival.
Now, you speak, Rick, of ceremonial burning of mascots, but Rico, you nearly fell foul of the darker truth that sometimes, as a man yourself whose mascot was being upgraded, um, you, from what you said, you just about avoided serious horrors. The fact that sometimes the person inside the mascot suit is part of the ceremony.
Yes, of course, and never intentionally that I've been able to prove at least, but I have my suspicions. The the I suppose the first thing that you need to understand is that quite often these things are done at or after the last game that mascot costume is being worn to. And it normally involves a select group of few from the club in question. Quite often, the let's say that some of us wearing the mascot costumes will, we might have the occasional drink to celebrate a victory, and you have to be very careful that if this happens on the day when your ceremony is going to take place, that you don't pass out on the field. The the traditional method, of course, is to sew up the back, the entrance to the costume, which I believe is taken from nautical tradition of putting the last stitch in a body bag through the nose. I think that's the tradition at any rate. But there's so much padding in these costumes that it's impossible to ever really tell if there's a person in there, and even to get the stitch that deep, it's more of a token gesture, so you might say. And digging deeper into that kettle of fish, if you will, there's it's not the first time it's happened, and I'm sure it won't be the last, and it's certainly not certainly not something that will go unpunished one day, I'm sure.
Rick, of course, you escaped such fears because you spent just the short time as a mascot. But in your time, was there ever talk among other mascots? You know, when mascots get together for the annual race of mascots or parties, or I know that mascots tend to get a whole lot of women. It's one of the best jobs to have for getting a lot of ladies' attention. But in one of your gatherings of other mascots, Rick, did was there ever talk about a fear of being part of this ceremony, or?
Yes, I think it's one of those things that is a common fear among the mascot community, and and it's one of those things where you would think it doesn't happen very often, but once is more than enough to make it a very nerve-wracking thought for people.
I would say though that there are those in the profession who revel in the fact that it might happen to them, and almost see it as a rite of passage. And indeed, there are certain jobs within the sporting world where that is part of your contract, and you are deemed. I won't name any famous teams or mascots for obvious reasons, but certainly a very meme-worthy top of the rung mascot is part of the deal, I believe.
Mm.
The nature. I mean, I suppose this is possibly the underlying reason for the unwanted mascot that we discuss this evening, because by its nature, the unwanted mascot would never be subject to this kind of ceremony. After all, and bringing people bang up to date, what we're talking about here is a mascot that emerged that is not associated with an underlying thing. It is a mascot with no item to be a mascot of,
Mm.
which is a bizarre thought, because honestly, it's obviously a mascot, and yet how is it anything other than a costume if there's no thing for it to be the mascot to? And yet, when you see it, it's obviously a mascot. It's made in Taiwan.
And to be made in such large numbers as well makes you wonder what the intended use is, if not for mascotting of a thing.
You see them, dear viewers, dear snufflers. You might see them as you walk around the town. You might see them handing out leaflets. It's not normally for the business they work for. They've just grabbed the leaflets off a teenager who was being paid minimum wage to hand them out, just to give them a sense of purpose. You might see them wandering at convention centres. They'll give you a sensation, isn't that right, Rick? Of they should fit, but they don't quite fit.
You know, if you attend places where a lot of these modern myths are discussed, like gaming conventions and other youth activities, you encounter people who dress up as characters to various things that they find appealing, and clearly this is part of the culture of these events, and quite often you recognize the character in question. I mean, I say you do. I don't recognize most of them, but every now and then you see one and go, ah, yes, that's obviously Sherlock Holmes. If Sherlock Holmes were a 19-year-old young woman in fishnets for some reason, but that is the iconic thing that you see, and then you encounter a character and you simply have no idea what the connection is, but you sort of assume there is one, that this isn't just some completely random outfit. There is a connection to something, even if you don't know what it is. But when you're confronted with an untethered mascot, one that could perhaps be without a hinge connecting it, I mean, that is a spooky experience.
They have no one to answer to. They have nothing to live for. They're very much wild and self-sustained at that point. Um, Interestingly, when we were researching it as well, Rico, you came face to face with a terrifying unwanted mascot.
Yes, of course, and this coming from somebody who has seen all manner of mascots throughout their time working within the community, should highlight just how horrific it was. Um, I think not per se in its appearance, but certainly in the nature in which it was found. If you can imagine something more horrifying than Sherlock Holmes in fishnets, it certainly fit that bill. And I think the strangest thing, as you know from the photo that I sent you, Dickie, the weirdest thing was where it was found, and the juxtaposition between the mascot and the location, wouldn't you say?
It was. I found it a fascinating case that that the mascot in question was a monkey and was found outside the Gallagher's from Oasis, their flat. Of course, the persona they used to give, the conversation they used to have, the the banter with Blur as such, and I thought it might be to advertise their upcoming gigs, but it turns out it wasn't. It was just handing out a flyer for a dry cleaning company.
Mm.
And of course, the most horrific bit was the constant Oasis songs that it was singing on repeat.
Oh, it was. As someone that was always much more of a Blur fan myself, I found it almost unbearable.
Hmm.
Rick, you're a man who isn't so much into music, so you could see through such horrors to delve deeper into the troubled mind of an unwanted mascot.
It's true. I'm not impacted by music the way some people are, because I don't really have an emotional connection to it. I'm aware it makes noise. You understand? Um, I just don't feel that level of connectivity to it, and that I find can be helpful for the clarity of things. I sadly have not seen this particular unwanted mascot in the foam, so to speak. But I have seen images of it, and it does seem to be quite distinctly a mascot of well, curious and obvious design. Um, and yet so many people seem to overlook it as they walk past. I wonder if that is the music, or is it that weird thing where people don't remember things or notice things that are so completely different to what they're expecting, and this is, after all, really quite different.
It does raise the question of unsolved crimes, burglaries, robberies. That often they seem to, if you look at the pattern, if you get the red string, as I know Rico especially is wont to do, and hang it around his motorhome with pictures and such like connecting. Um, it often seems that the places where most of these unwanted mascots are is a place of high crime. But people, as you say, Rick, they don't remember these mascots. Perhaps it gives them carte blanche in their broken minds to commit all kinds of skullduggery.
I think, honestly, skullduggery is probably the most optimistic interpretation of the role these mascots are undertaking. It's that they are not subject to the laws of man. They seem to drift through a world in which they can randomly appear and disappear without trace. It's a scary thing indeed.
It truly is. It truly is. Rico, would you ever go back to becoming a mascot again? And if so, do you feel the need now, with what you know, to do more research over what costume you're putting on?
It's an interesting question. I would some of my fondest memories, certainly of Rick and I, that 1 year was glorious. Being joined at the hip, quite literally, and stuffed inside a costume together was some of the fondest moments of my life, I would say. Um, I think I think the game's changed. I think it's a completely different animal now. Uh, and I think, of course, there's always the fear of the ceremony. Will I make it out? And of course, now there is the added fear of becoming. I don't know whether these unwanted mascots are born unwanted or whether they become unwanted. And you don't want to end up in a suit that is no longer needed, or a suit that was never needed in the first place, and left out there to your skullduggery, I suppose.
Mm.
I don't think I'd go back now.
Never look back. You can't recapture the magic of the old times.
No, well, we certainly can't.
uh, Rick, earlier this year, of course, you tried to take a flight to Taiwan, if I remember,
Yes,
via China,
yes.
and when you got to China, they said that Taiwan doesn't even exist.
That's true. Yes, I mean they acknowledge the existence of the physical place, the island itself, but it turned out that they were of the opinion that if you were to fly from China to Taiwan, it would be a domestic flight, which is itself quite a bizarre experience since they then don't offer such a flight.
It's a, it just adds to the mystery around these mascots. Is Taiwan a place or a state of mind? Are these mascots made for something, or is it just a conspiracy to fill the world with unwanted beings? Are they? I don't understand it. I've never been a mascot. I don't get it, guys.
Of course, sorry if I can just jump in. The next course of action, as far as I'm concerned, Rick, is for you and I to don the old costume, ask some questions, and see if we can get a flight to Taiwan whilst in mascot form.
Yes, yes, I think when I've considered the logistics of it, because it is a sort of a two-person outfit, um, we would probably need to travel as cargo in a cargo aircraft, because I'm not convinced we would fit into any seat. And I think that's probably true of just me, to be honest. But the truth is that requires all sorts of planning and paperwork that these days is hard to accomplish, because for whatever reason, so few of the established transport aircraft companies actually seem to man their fax lines and their telex services. I don't understand it. I don't know how they get custom, to be honest.
And they'll go out of business any day now, I'm sure.
I'm sure they will.
Well, dear friends, again, I'm the outsider compared to you, but I'd like to take a sentence, a well said sentence by our viewer Sock Fiddler, who says, "Do we feel maybe the unwanted mascot is an expression, a personification, if you will, of the modern experience of disconnection from the very thing we so loudly express support for, or do you feel that it is um, a physical thing, a physical being, a conspiracy far beyond the borders of this island, um, where thousands of men and women wearing these suits roam the cities up and down the country, not knowing what to do with themselves?" Rick Bishop, in the case of the unwanted mascot, do you believe or do you remain skeptical?
I of course haven't seen it myself, and that only makes me more convinced that I believe.
It is as always, as you say, it always is. The more evidence there is, the more tidy it is.
Yes, I mean, the if I'd seen it myself, I'd be forced to disbelieve my eyes. But yes, I having never laid eyes on it, I have to believe.
And for you, Rico Zimmerman, that spent years of his own life stitched up inside a sweaty mascot, um, do you believe or do you remain skeptical?
It's a hard one because it hits quite so close to home for me. Um, I struggle to believe such such things of the Mascots community, and I don't know whether I'm too emotionally involved. I'd say at this point I remain skeptical, but I acknowledge that there's further research to be done.
Oh, a thoughtful approach as you always have. Um, I myself, as an outsider, as a non-Muscite as I am, it must be said that I believe. I spent enough time with my dear friend Rick to know when he's onto a good solid lead. The stories you told me, Rico, They capture the romantic side of me. It makes me think more often when I'm thrust a leaflet by someone in a suit to look more carefully and maybe ask them if they're okay, if anyone wants them. In chat, we have Sock Fiddler believing, Realm of Rust believing, Sparrow remaining skeptical. So I understand why we're not 100% friends. I do.
It's a mixed bag.
It is, and I think that's the sign of a healthy mind.
We must not accept everything thrown at us, Rick. You taught me that in our early years together.
And try desperately not to catch everything thrown at you, because some of them are.
especially you. You do have a reputation for having things thrown at you.
I do have a reputation.
Indeed. Well, thank you, Rico, for joining us this evening and bringing your knowledge to our group.
Always a pleasure, and always a pleasure to talk about something that I'm so that's been such a large part of my life.
When will we next be seeing you in person?
Sorry, let me. All things being well with the route I have planned, I'd say sometime in the next 30 to 151 days.
Splendid.
But of course, I'll fax or pigeon or page you.
That'd be much appreciated as always. We can make sure that the Jammy Dodgers are available, and Rick can make sure he's not drunk at the local pub.
By British standards.
By British standards, absolutely.
Of course.
Well, thank you, dear Rico. Be well, stay safe, and don't let them grind you down.
And the same to all of you and all of your wonderful viewers as well.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Good night.
Good night, Rico.
Rick, we're so fortunate to have so many wonderful people in our lives, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so many colleagues who are tireless investigators of the unexplained and even inexplicable.
You were telling me the other evening of a friend of yours who you were once very close to, but ultimately betrayed you, though, were you not?
Yes, that is true, and that has happened to me more than once. I should say. Um, I'm not talking about those friends where we sort of drifted apart, or those friends that I made myself and have subsequently, not really kept in contact with me, but remained very close with my wife, for example. Those people are certainly not betrayers. But yes, there was an unfortunate incident at a gathering of the curious in Winchester, which is in Hampshire, for those who are unfamiliar with the geography of the area. And to my horror, this person who I thought I knew, honestly, turned up at this gathering, which was late in the evening, and had neglected to bring a head torch. And as you can imagine, well, we haven't spoken since.
It's almost as if he hadn't read up about you before getting so close to you.
It's not that much that I ask, just that people be perpetually and reliably prepared to deal with any moment's sudden change in situation. If you're not prepared for that, then, well, yes, it's as if all of the information I'd provided to him, all of the help I'd given him, meant nothing.
I myself, at your special request, Rick, have ensured that I have a tape measure by my side, just in case. You always say that's one of your top 10 items to keep with you to ensure things are the size you think they should be.
Exactly, because things being the size that they should be is an essential check on whether reality has in fact been distorted. If you encounter pieces of paper that are the wrong size, then it's clearly indicative that there is a problem afoot.
Oh, exactly, exactly. It just takes one item being the wrong size could just be the start of a whole conspiracy starting. That
Mm.
perhaps piece by piece your house is being changed around you without you realizing until it's too late.
Um, the the danger associated with such things, these warning signs. I mean, it cannot be overstated.
No.
Um, you you encounter things that are the wrong size or in the wrong place. Some things that should be on the right are in fact on the left. Some things that are supposed to be blue are in fact white, and so on and so forth. It's you have to keep alert for these things, and without the right tools, without the right preparation, physical preparation, but also mental preparation, how will you ever understand what's going on around you?
And a beautiful segue, Rick, a beautiful segue indeed, because we're going to be joined in a second by someone who truly does understand the world around them. They are a guest who is very popular um, among our viewers, and we're inviting her back this evening because she has released a book which I have in my hand. It is a weighty tome indeed, Rick. I believe you're receiving it page by page by fax machine.
Yes, yes, I have now received, I think, the majority of the book, and that required changing role twice so far.
It's worth it when you get around to it. It's very much worth it. I believe it's also on the internet, but we worked out that sending it by fax would be quicker than downloading the different pages of the website and printing it out for you.
Yes, and I mean, 120 board is obviously a suitable number for high end communication, but the internet version, I don't know. It's not so much the download speed. You can download the whole book in as little as 2 days. It's then the person having to walk over to my house to deliver it to me. The internet can be very slow.
Very much so. Well, I got this book delivered to me by Skanky Dave, in fact, earlier this week, and I've managed to make a start on it. But the two of us are going to find out a lot more this evening by the about the truths behind it. The book is called "Hot Spurts: Vengeful Volcanic Goddesses."
Mm.
A catchy title. Not the first book in your collection with hot spurts in the title, Rick.
No, no. I have two others of that title. In fact, not only two books with that included in the title, but also several videotapes.
Mm. I did notice them actually stashed in a more private drawer last time I was
Yes,
round.
yes. I mean, it's that they are a more advanced viewing than. I mean, if you come to my house, as you will know, most of my walls are covered in videotapes of Darcy Bustle.
Hmm.
But you do occasionally need a space for some other materials.
And obviously very fascinating to you because I noticed that the tape on those videos was worn very, very thin.
Yes, I think that's probably fair. Yes, they've been through the machine a few times.
Um, Ewan in chat asked for the title again. In case anyone wants to buy it, it's a good price. It's £45.99. It is Hot Spurts, Vengeful Volcanic Goddesses. Its author, a friend of the show, uh, Philomena Minor. Philomena Mina. I never know how to say it. But she can put us right because she's joining us now. Good evening, Philomena. How are you?
All right, my darlings. Oh, it's been a long time, innit? Oh, it's lovely to hear your voice. It's so nice to see you. And I got my tape measure. It's exactly 39.2 centimeters today.
Ah, that's brilliant to hear. And that's a good number where you are. It's so rarely that number.
Oh, it's very healthy. It's looking very good for us right now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's lovely.
And it's lovely to hear your dulcet tones.
Oh, it's lovely to hear you too. I have great hopes for you and your lady wife being almost in the same street very soon. Oh, it's going splendidly for you. It's delightful.
This is as close as we've ever been, I think. It's going brilliantly.
Oh, eventually, you might even be able to look upon it with your own eyes.
Well,
Oh,
I
lovely.
mean, here's hoping.
He normally does, to be honest, Philomena, but through a camera.
Ah, I see. And also I noted that the fax machine working very nicely. I'm fairly sure we'll be through the other 4 copies that you bought by maybe the end of June, I
Oh,
believe.
that's brilliant. Yes, thank you. And it's extremely kind of you to send them sequentially like that.
Oh well, let me tell you, Skanky Dave has taken up a job. I pay him a Tesco meal deal and about 13 quid to sit there in front of the machine and just get that done for me. And in return, he stopped scraping the paint off my car. So everyone's a winner.
Oh, that's excellent. Isn't that good?
That's lovely. It's lovely.
So that £13, by the time he's invested it, and I've bought his investment, he'll be on about £30. That's very good.
I know.
Good for
It's
him.
he does keep asking me if I'm a Tottenham fan though, and I'm not quite understanding what that means, but I'm sure I'll explain it eventually.
Well, and indeed. He's a man that doesn't understand uh, the true depth of titles.
Hmm.
He's a kind man, but a simple soul, some might say. But he's been there
Sticky
at my
fingers.
darkest
Do you
times.
think
Uh,
sticky fingers? Maybe a little bit.
I think he's a true believer in the the open ownership of the universe.
Oh, well, I'm writing that down. That sounds like a good title for a book. That says. Well done.
Well, speaking of which, I feel you'd struggle to improve upon this title, Philomena. Hot spurts, vengeful volcanic
Not,
goddesses.
not spurts.
Please tell us about this this wonderful piece of writing that will open a lot of people's eyes.
Well, as you know, my darling Dickie, I'm quite noted in the Atlantis theorist community by at least 3 people for my, let's say, a bit challenging theories on the nature of lesbianism and left-handedness in the ancient lost city of Atlantis. And on the back of that, I sort of wondered, what about all them volcanoes with all them fire goddesses? What's that about then? Um, and then, as I started looking into it, I sort of realised that not only are all these volcanic goddesses quite angry ladies, and there was one woman, like one goddess. She was murdered because she ate paprika. It turned into a dog. No wonder she's angry, wouldn't you be? Anyway, it turns out not only are these volcano goddesses well, quite angry, that's the fire,
Mm.
but also very likely lesbians. And when you look at all the pictures of all these volcanoes popping off around the world, the lava is always coming out the left-hand side. That can't be a
Oh,
coincidence.
yeah. Well, I mean that definitely is a very important piece of evidence.
It really, right? I mean, it's hard to know where to go from here, and the response to the book has been, I mean, it's been tremendous. I've been very touched,
Mm.
particularly by Stinky Dave, but the reception has been very kind as well.
Um, some would say that, and I'm not speaking of myself. I love your book as much as I've read of it so far, and as much as Skank Dave has told me about it that he's managed to read. His reading
It's
has been
sticky fingered.
improving. His reading's
Sticky
been
fingered
improving.
Dave, I think. He
Yeah, he
says
is.
that's what they called his uncle, though, back in the 60s. So I
Uh,
can't call him that anymore.
I
Mm.
know, I know. He's trying to separate himself from such things. I think. Um, some, not I say, not myself, not Dave, and not Rick, would say that perhaps your obsession with lesbianism um, has led you down a blind alley in this in this case. What would you say to your doubters in this?
I think you gotta follow your own trail. You know what I mean? I mean, like your friend earlier, he was an unwanted mascot for a certain amount of time. He just had to go down his own journey, didn't he? And I don't feel alone in being a little bit obsessed with the lesbians. I mean,
Far from it.
quite.
Well,
Uh,
judging by Rick's collection of videos, definitely not.
It is definitely something that has piqued my interest.
oh, you are very spurty, Rick, my friend. Definitely spurty. Yeah, in fact, almost inspirationally spurty, if I do say so myself. Yeah. So, I don't feel I'm obsessed with the lesbians. I have been accused of being too lefty in my time, but I sort of feel, yeah, you got to ride your own trail, so to speak.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
So I mean, I was actually curious, because Dave has begun looking at the book himself, and I was interested in his feedback, because I was certainly that I had spoken with him in the past, and I was a little bit surprised, honestly, to learn that when he was at school, um, he managed, A's and B's, but the rest of the alphabet eluded him. Um, so I was wondering how he was actually getting on with your quite elegant prose.
Well, to be absolutely honest, he doesn't really read it. I've taught him the numbers, and we sort of rely on that really, and then after that, lettering. He knows what next means, which is you'll get a right spanking if you keep that up, my boy. And then apart from that, no, he doesn't really do his letters that much. Sorry.
Right.
We've
So
tried.
he's more focusing on the illustrations.
He's pictures and color. He's very into his colors. He can identify at least three now. Can Stanky Dave?
Oh,
He's getting on well. Bless him. Yeah.
well, that's excellent to hear, because it's always good to see someone, really reaching their intellectual peak.
Oh, he's definitely fulfilling his potential. That definitely. I still haven't broken him to him that he can't go back to Woolworths yet, because there ain't one. But in the meantime, he's very happy on his Netscape 3.0 browser, looking at pictures of volcanoes, essentially spurting stuff out, and then making jokes I don't quite understand. I've got to be honest, but he finds them very funny, and he seems happy enough, so I leave him to it mostly.
Has he introduced you to his herbal treats since he's been spending time with you, Philomena?
Oh, his herbal treats. His woolly ones from his pocket, or the other ones that he likes to put in a cake.
Ah, both.
I gotta be honest, I'm not that much of a fan of what men find in their pockets anymore.
Well, no, and the book makes that very, very clear.
Abundantly so. I'm not a big fan of paprika, shall we say? No, he made me a cake for my birthday, and I don't really remember what happened after that. We sort of lost 3 days, and
Um,
I woke up naked in a hot tub with a man named Bleno in Christchurch.
my goodness, and that is indeed a diagram of that is on page 69 of the book.
Page 69 of the book. That is true. He was very apologetic, though. I feel like I needed to make that clear in a very extensive footnote.
I think so. So let's delve more into this, Philomena. What were your main findings into your research about the vengeful volcanic goddesses? You say that a lot of the volcanoes squirt to the left. That a lot of the goddesses were lesbian. What is the connection to this? What ties this all together? There's always an overarching picture with your writing, which I think is what Rick and I love so much about it. You feel like there's many tendrils, as it were, and they all come together in an overarching vision. And what is it for this one?
In a molten pool, if you like, of outreaching spurtiness. I think broadly, I focused on 3 goddesses in particular. There was one whose name I can't really say from the Philippines, and another whose name I can't really say from the Aztec culture, and then one from Hawaii, who I thought was interesting. Her name is Pele, and I can say that name. Um, and what I found is all three of them were jaded and vengeful, but also fairly well poorly treated by the menfolk. So all of them wanted to go and find themselves a new way of life and give up on creation and just have a bit of a time. Bless them. Very inspirational figures though, each of the three, and all of them quite spurty, if you will.
It's a common theme, I think, in the parts of the book I've read, that there is very much a connection to that kind of that kind of approach.
I find honestly, I find once you delve deep into the pipes of these goddesses, if you like, you often find something richly hot to explode out and shower you with knowledge.
I think Rick has a reputation for never being able to delve deeply into pipes of goddesses. Um, so, as an outsider in that regard, Rick, how have you found those first few pages? Is it easy reading for the people watching?
Um, well, honestly, I found it compelling as a read. Um, I found I was having an almost physically excited reaction.
Hmm.
I was tingling with excitement.
Hmm.
I would say over the words and the illustrations. I, I cannot remember being so intrigued and, one might say, gripped by a book in recent times.
You have washed that stick, haven't you? I'm coming around tomorrow.
I have been. It's true that I have been literally unable to put the book down.
And I gotta be honest, I've had a lot of feedback like that. Um, one reviewer, I think he was from maybe the Daily Mail. Um, his review was very generous, and he said it's entirely not the book I was expecting it to be, but was worth it all the same. And on the back
Oh,
of that, I'm now in discussion with let's say a fairly major studio, and it's not BBC Three. We're talking about maybe a more hands-on interactive experience for
I'm certainly eager to hear more about that.
Um, uh, Philomena, you've recently I've delved onto
hmm,
Amazon. Other sites, of course, are available and preferred, to be honest.
mhm.
But Rick and I do use it from time to time because the sheer number of workers there that couldn't care less about being there means that they don't care what you're receiving, and the boxes are so vague that you could be receiving anything, which is useful for Rick and I as we make very specific orders. Um, but the review on the site calls you
Mhm.
the horny Barbara Cartland of lesbian legends. Do you think that's fair?
Um, I honestly, I'm not an ornid beast. That's a whole other book that I haven't written yet. I could look into it though. Why not?
Mm.
Um, Barbara Cartland though, she was the fluffy one with the dogs, wasn't she?
Mm.
With
Uh,
the
yes. She broadly speaking looked like a blancmange.
oh, I thought that was my mother. I've got to be honest. Well, I mean, I don't really know. Rightly, I'd much prefer to be more of a Ginny Cooper. Uh, with the horse boots and the whips and all that malarkey. But in a pinch, if we're going to be walking down a hot lava-filled road together, I'll take Barbara Cartland.
Ah, yes. Well, I think
Mm,
it's fair to say that Barbara Cartland did have a remarkable publishing
Mm.
legacy. Publishing as
extraordinarily spurty.
as as I haven't actually read her work myself, but as I'm reliably informed, she published uh, hundreds of copies of the same book with different titles over decades.
A woman that you've taken great inspiration from, Rick, in your own output.
I I will confess that I did learn from her the value of the sheer volume of production of titles.
I,
Yes.
I have heard that your output is quite extensive.
I do have that reputation.
The Philomena, have you are you going to sit back and rest on your laurels with this book? I already see it's your most popular. You have 7 or 8 3-star reviews on Amazon, which is excellent, excellent, excellent. Um, are you going to sit back and wait for those pennies to roll in, or are you already looking towards the future?
I I have got some thoughts about my follow up thesis, but I've got to talk to the society for a bit first, and see. Yeah, uncertain times, isn't it? And we're not really sure, uh, in the long term, what kind of reception we're going to be enjoying this time next year, for example. Whether we're still going to be spurting out into the sky, or maybe dried up a bit, into a bit of a damp squib. So we just got to wait and see how full our pipe is, shall we say? But certainly there are some long term deals. One fella wants to use my fly cover for a brick and sell it as a doorstop, which I don't find entirely disagreeable. I gotta be honest.
Yes.
It's good.
I mean, utility is utility, whatever form it takes.
I I hear you've got a tour coming up that you're going out on tour. You're reading your book and showing the pictures at half a dozen boys' boarding schools.
Boys' boarding schools, and I will be particularly paying attention to the 15 to 16 age bracket,
Uh,
towards this spurty age group.
but they would be very open to your research, I feel.
I feel they're quite inspired by Rick as well, to be honest. In the world of what it is we do,
He
I
does have a
feel
reputation.
I mean, I think there are many a teenager who wants to grow up being as productive as Rick is. Let's be honest. But I am open to catch up with one particular fan who's should we say she's a little hard to pin down. And you know, maybe there'll be some spurting. Who knows?
Hmm. Well, it is from what I've read of it so far. I will say it is an excellent and enthralling book. It's wonderful, very exciting
Oh,
that you've managed to get this published and made uh, such such an impact on
such
readers.
many tens of pounds from it, shall we say?
I mean, the money I'm sure is delightful, but knowing how you've reached so many people so deeply must be so rewarding.
You never quite know where it's going to take you. You know what I mean? And leave them coming back for more. That's what my publisher said once to me over dinner. I think they were hoping that I'd pay the bill.
Yeah. Well, I know once I have my copies all assembled, I will be giving one to my wife, Keris, and
Mm.
she um, has indicated that she might be interested in reading it, and
Ooh,
I'm actually very excited. She's
Hmm.
promised to read it in her bedroom by the window, so I'll be able to actually watch her doing so.
This-
and don't forget, my friend Rick, that at the back there is a very hefty diagram that details exactly how you can make your own spurty volcano too.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Marvelous. Marvelous. Well, thank you so much for having me. Oh, and I'd like to note as well that it's now gone up to 42.8.
worth
Oh,
it.
that's excellent.
It's it's good news. It's good news. I do feel like I'm somehow stepping between you and Rick at times, but good news nonetheless.
It's all right. I don't want to say my welcome though. I do feel maybe it's time for me to get off.
Well, if you get off, and then Rick can get off later. And
Well, I'm planning to do so later in the evening, but not just yet.
page 69 has printed off, hasn't it, for you, Rick?
I have seen that page. Yes.
Splendid.
Sorry, my
In-
darling. I told Slinky Dave to send that one through twice for you. One for the book and one for yours. I signed one, so you got a special collection.
Yes. Thank you. I do appreciate that, and it's always nice when the creator of a work is a friend and will make that special gesture. Thank you.
Many a gesture. I'll just wave my magic wand, my darling.
And
The image is already in my mind.
I'm sure Rick will wave his one back. But thank you so much, Philomena, for joining us this evening. It's always an absolute pleasure. Don't tell Rico, but you are our favourite guest.
Oh, I had dinner with a man who said he knew Rico's mother back in the 80s, and that if she could reach through time, she'd say hello. And we had burgers together on the beach at Lynmouth, and it was rather nice. Yeah.
You paint such beautiful images with your words, Philomena. No wonder your writing is going from strength to strength. Thank you.
Spurt, if you like.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, cheers, me babbers.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Toodles.
Rick, what a night we've had. It's been short but perfectly formed.
It's been so splendid this evening.
And the night is still young. What do you intend to do for the rest of your evening, if I may ask?
Honestly, I thought I might catch up with some reading.
I'm not at all surprised. I feel like I'm already holding you here too long. You look tense and keen to move on.
I feel honestly I should be getting off.
In which case, good night, Rick. Another wonderful evening together.
Thank you so much for this evening. I won't keep you, but thank you so much for this evening. I think we've reached some people. We've talked about some things, and yes, all the best and good night.
Good night to you, Rick. Sleep well. Good night, dear Truth Foragers. Continue with your snuffling for truth truffles, and we will see you again the next time we're allowed online. Until then, good night.